We usually go above fair value. So I think we could get into the high hundreds, maybe even a couple hundred, but let's call it the high hundreds, 150, 180. And then we go into the next crypto winter. So we have our correction. Then for the next halving in 2028, the fair value jumps to $1 million. And people say, $1 million, that could never happen. Well, hopefully by that time, we're not talking about Bitcoin, we're talking about Satoshis. Because the Satoshi is the unit of measure that we should all, I think, be talking about, which is there are 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin.
As Bitcoin and the entire cryptocurrency market prepare to enter the new month, more key players have been sharing their outlook on Bitcoin's price and its potential long-term performance. Very recently, the CEO of Morgan Creek Capital Management made a bold Bitcoin price prediction that has since left a handful of market players in shock. Mark Yusko, the CEO of the billion-dollar asset manager, is betting big on Bitcoin. Although the apex cryptocurrency is still struggling to sustain momentum around the $30,000 price level, Yusko is bullish on Bitcoin. He predicts that the digital asset will tap $300,000 come 2028, right after the halving is successfully carried out. Yusko made the prediction recently while speaking to CoinDesk TV First Mover. The CEO also compared Bitcoin to gold, a long-standing Bitcoin rival. Like many other Bitcoin proponents, Mark Yusko believes that gold is not as divisible or as portable as Bitcoin. He also highlights Bitcoin's scarcity as one of the many reasons why the asset is poised to outperform gold. He is certain that in the future, digital assets will become as valuable as gold. Speaking specifically about Bitcoin, Yusko also acknowledged that gold's monetary value is currently capped at $6 trillion at this time. While Bitcoin is still significantly behind, Yusko believes that the apex cryptocurrency could catch up in no time. Let's now get into the video and listen to what Mark Yusko has to say. Endeavor to give us a like, subscribe, and drop your comments below.
It goes like this, right? So gold is the only money in the world. And what is money? Money is an asset that exists in the absence of a liability. Now everybody says, well, what about all this other stuff? You know, these dollars or yen or euros. We use them as money. Well, no, we use them as currency. And they're created by banks, central banks, and they're backed by debt. So it's not that they're bad or evil. It's just they're not money. Money is an asset that exists in the absence of a liability. And so for 5,000 years, it's a long time, gold has played that role. And we had experiments with other things along the way, puka shells and stone wheels and things like that. But gold has survived through belief and custom. And 1 ounce of gold for 5,000 years has bought a fine person's suit. So from Cleopatra's time to a suit of armor to a zoot suit in the 20s to Savile Row today, you or I could go to Savile Row and for a single ounce of gold, about $1,900, we could get a fine suit. And that's about what it would take. So what's changed? Well, gold suffers from 2 things. It's not very portable, meaning it's really heavy and clunky, and it's not very divisible. Like if I had a bar of gold here, I go pull it out of the safe, and I wanted to give you half, right? Because it's been a nice interview, I wanted to give you half. Even if I could break it in half, which I couldn't do, I'd have a hard time stuffing it in the computer and sending it to you. So it's not very divisible. I can't break it in half, and it's not very portable. I can't send it to you. Well, Bitcoin fixes both of those. It is equally scarce. Its stock to flow ratio is the same as gold. The amount that's lost or stolen every year roughly equals the amount that's created. And so it's a scarce asset. Well, why do scarce assets matter? Well, a scarce asset, which also exists in the absence of a liability, it wasn't created by a government with debt, has an interesting feature of being a perfect store of value. So as people realize that in the digital age, and Bitcoin being more divisible and more portable, I can punch a few buttons on my smartphone and send you Bitcoin immediately. You don't have to have a bank account. I don't need to have a bank account. We can make that transfer of wealth instantaneously. So the monetary value of gold, to sum up, is about $6 trillion, give or take. The total value of gold is about 11, but 5-ish of that is jewelry and chalices, and that doesn't really count. But the monetary that's in central banks around the world is about 6 trillion. I think Bitcoin can replace all of that. The monetary equivalent, 6 trillion, is about a 10x from here. So it gives us a price of about 300K. I've said for years, so that was like a 10-year process, and we're probably 3-4 years into that. So I can still, I would say the next halving, not this halving in 2024, but the 2028. And where do I get that? Well, every halving, we've added a zero. We've about 10 times the market cap of Bitcoin. So we went from 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000. I think this halving next April, we go to 100,000 as fair value. But in these movements during crypto fall, right? We're in crypto summer today until next June. Then after the halving, we go to crypto fall. That's the parabolic, everybody's crazed and FOMO rules. We usually go above fair value. So I think we could get into the high hundreds, maybe even a couple hundred, but let's call it the high hundreds, 150, 180. And then we go into the next crypto winter. So we have our correction. Then for the next halving in 2028, the fair value jumps to $1 million. And people say, $1 million, that could never happen. Well, hopefully by that time, we're not talking about Bitcoin, we're talking about Satoshis. Because the Satoshi is the unit of measure that we should all, I think, be talking about, which is there are 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin. And then we don't have to think about, well, Bitcoin's $1 million. No, a single Satoshi is worth fractions of pennies at some point.
The next Bitcoin halving is expected to kick off in April of 2024, with the next one scheduled for 2028. Bitcoin halvings have typically ushered in a bullish price rally for the asset in previous times. Yusko acknowledges this, saying, every Bitcoin halving we've added a zero, and by next April, I think we could go to $100,000. Many key players have also made bullish predictions for Bitcoin. Notably, Cathie Wood ARK Invest made a $1.5 million Bitcoin price prediction back in February. Wood recently doubled down on the price prediction, citing the recent XRP court ruling as a positive signal for Bitcoin and the entire cryptocurrency market. Standard Chartered also predicted that Bitcoin would tap $120,000 by the end of the year. Crypto service provider Matrixport also called $125,000 as a year-end price for Bitcoin in 2024. Meanwhile, Bitcoin's recent price performance has birthed concerns from market players this week. The leading cryptocurrency maintains stability above the $30,000 price level. Human Rights Foundation, HRF, officially launched a bug bounty challenge to support open-source development on the Bitcoin protocol, centered around 10 improvements to the Bitcoin user experience and mainly aimed at mobile wallets. These bounties come from conversations with global activists. Alex Gladstein, Chief Strategy Officer for HRF, told Decrypt. They are features that many would like to see come to Bitcoin. Each bounty is worth 2 Bitcoin, nearly $60,000 according to CoinGecko, and is aimed at a specific problem that Bitcoin faces today, with 6 aimed at improving mobile wallets. One bug bounty challenge looks at open-source design components for Bitcoin projects, which currently rely heavily on proprietary design software called Figma. The goal is to provide developers free access to a Bitcoin user interface guide. Another challenge looks to help expand and bolster the development of Nostr, an open-source and censorship-resistant social network backed by Jack Dorsey that has garnered substantial notoriety in the past few months, especially among the more technical crypto crowd. The bounties aimed at Bitcoin wallets include the ability to generate and memorize seed phrases when crossing borders, a common practice the HRF wants to support around the world. The 20 Bitcoin that are financially incentivizing these bounties come from the HRF Bitcoin Development Fund, a branch of the foundation that looks to help expand financial freedom for dissidents and human rights activists everywhere. HRF views Bitcoin and financial freedom as one aspect of the human rights struggle, Gladstein told Decrypt. The fact is, human rights defenders are persistently attacked through their bank accounts. Bitcoin allows them to keep going. At the time of writing, none of the 10 bounties have been claimed, although they will run through this year and up to the end of 2024. The bounties are a bit of an experiment, Gladstein concluded. If they go well, maybe other organizations can do the same. What do you think of Yusko's bold claim for a $300,000 Bitcoin? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.